Okay, so my name's Phil, or Fresh and Minty as I'm known on social media, and this is my 1985 Honda Acty. I think my main reason I got into cars in the first place was basically pop culture. So my first car was actually a Vespa, 1957 Vespa, because I was into music, that kind of bands had got scooters and stuff like that. And then it just kind of followed from there really, in terms of getting interested in different types of cars and getting interested into the design of cars really, more than the cars themselves, and seeing different models that were a bit different. I wanted a Bedford Rascal, which is a similar shaped van, since I was a teenager. Couldn't tell you why, I just saw them driving around the streets and thought, I like those, they're quite different. They're a bit square and a bit simple lines and kind of miniature version, so I like things that are kind of small as well. I was browsing Instagram, and on the suggested posts I popped this little Acty van, and I thought, oh, I've always wanted one of them. And it was actually in the suggested posts, so I think Instagram must have known that I like minty cars, and I followed the owner and I said, let me know when you're selling it, because I want to buy it. And then he replied back saying it's for sale. So I thought, well, took 3 trains down to have a look at it, all one-way tickets in the dark in winter, and there wasn't really much chance of me coming back and not buying it. So I bought it, headed back up home with it, and the journey back was all fine and everything was good. The reason I actually bought it was for a daily driver, so at the time I was driving a Nissan Elgrand, so I was getting 23 miles to the gallon, and I just got a new job, 70 mile round trip a day, so I thought I'm not going to be able to do that in that kind of economy, so I bought this on the basis of it being nice and economical, and it is, but it's not very luxurious. You don't realise the luxuries of a modern car until you try and drive something like this every single day. So it soon became, from being bought as a daily driver to gradually becoming a show car over the next year or so. So it had been painted in mint green graffiti paint. The bodywork wasn't the best underneath that graffiti paint, but it was MOT'd, it was all running fine, so it kind of did the job that it wanted to do. It got a few mods to it, so it got some mini wheels on adapters, and it kind of got a bit of a Japanese style to it, so it got the oil cooler look and front skirt on it. But apart from that, it's pretty standard really. In 2019, it was obviously that if I was going to keep it long term, then it needed to be either treated partially or just going in for a full rework. And as I started to look into more and more what needed doing, I realised that actually I needed to go full in to make sure it's going to last. So early 2019, I stripped the whole vehicle down, took all the interior out, took all the lights out, the bumper out, everything, got it transported to a soda blasting company, and had it all soda blasted back to bare metal. And from there it went to DC Customs, and they did a lot of repairs to the bodywork. All this front panel was just all completely dented in originally. There's a lot of rust, all the arches were completely rusted away, so they all had to be rebuilt. You couldn't get pattern parts or anything like that, so they had to be made just by hand really, from just copying what it's a bit of sheet metal and bending into the shape that they needed to be. All around the lower sides and the rear was all custom metal work to follow the line from the standard door, so that it follows that same line at the same height all the way around the back. The rear tailgate has been widened 4 inches as well, and the side beds spaced out so that the rear wheels can tuck in underneath those. A lot of the bodywork I've tried to get it done as subtle as possible, so that it looked, unless you compared side by side, you wouldn't be able to see what had been done. And also in the front panel as well, there used to be a washer filler on the panel itself, on the front end, and wiper jets here as well, so as much as possible, and badge holes as well. Things like that, just try and keep it as smooth and minimal as possible. Yeah, the interior I've tried to keep as standard as possible. The original bench seat was all the split, so all the stitching was split and the foam was exposed when I first bought it. I've bought 2 donor vehicles now, and the first one I bought, the interior was good condition, so I just scrubbed all that down, cleaned it all up and then swapped the covers over onto these seats that were already in this truck. The headlining, yeah, I've got a fur headlining in there. Again, the original headlining had perished over time, so I've done that with a few of my other vehicles as well. I've gone for the fur headlining to and glued it into place. It's quite an easy material to apply. Yeah, the dashboard has been flocked. The previous owner at some point had done some repairs onto that and painted just some of it in black paint for some reason. So after all the bodywork had been done, the dashboard was the one thing that was letting it down, so I decided to get that flocked in a brown to match the paintwork. And also found a steering wheel as well, period 80s steering wheel, and also the matching Boss kit as well, just found on eBay, just to finish off the look really. The first modifications I did to it was the suspension, so I wanted to try and get it as low as possible. So I went for hydraulic suspension. Complications with this truck was the rear suspension, because it's on leaf springs as standard and the way the rear axle works. You can't put it on lowering blocks, so it's difficult to lower without completely replacing all that. So there's a lot of custom fabrication done, and swing arms were installed, as well as the hydraulic suspension to try and get it as low as possible. The front arches were tubbed, the turrets were raised, and hydraulic struts put in. The bench seat has got holes cut in as well, so that the turrets could be raised as high as possible, just to get the truck to sit as low as possible. The engine work, it's a standard engine that's been rebuilt this year. It's a 45cc twin cylinder. It's a standard engine, just fully rebuilt. Top speed is, it's about 55 comfortably. It goes a bit faster, but the revs are so high it just doesn't feel comfortable driving in it. In terms of colour, when I reworked the bodywork, I thought, if I'm going all out and getting it redone and making the bodywork perfect, I decided that it was better to go for a different colour as well. And I was looking into, I wanted a period colour that suited a 70s or 80s style. And I settled on a brown in the end. So I went through various colour charts and eventually found a nice metallic brown that kind of, it got a retro look to it, but also it got a bit of a classy luxury look to it as well. When all the bodywork was all immaculate, I wanted to try and get the headlights up to scratch as well. So the black surrounds, these surrounds were all painted, and I wanted to get black background headlights as well, so to try and keep that fully section or looking as dark as possible. So managed to find these headlights on Amazon, LED headlamps. So they look lovely. The light output's not the best. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of try and go for as modern touches with the lighting to try and build it. Although it's got like a classic retro look to the whole vehicle, I wanted to try and get modern lighting to be able to see better on the roads, and just to give it more of a modern edge as well. And again, in terms of the tail lights as well, I went for a similar look. So I got LED. They're from a kit car supplier. So custom brackets had to be manufactured to get those to fit into holes that again were custom kit into that lower body panel. So the canopy on the back, I'd like to do a bit of reworking on that. I got that from a donor truck. It was actually on a Honda Acty that I bought last year, but I'd like to try and shorten it so that it sits in line with the top of the cab, and also try and shape the front end so that it follows the back end of the cab a bit, so it kind of sits a bit more in sync with the actual shape of the truck. After I've done that, I'd like to trim it in vinyl, see how we go with that, and then after that then on the inside of the canopy I'd like to do a bit more of a rework, maybe put some benches in there or make it a bit more homely in there. I applied to DVLA to get the full history of the vehicle, so I think they've restricted the details you can get nowadays, but when I first bought it I applied for that, so I got the names and addresses of all the previous 9 owners of the vehicle. It's bounced around all over the country. It started off in Manchester, then it moved down to Colchester in Essex, so it's moved about quite a bit. Unfortunately I don't know anything about whether it was being used as businesses or whether it had got a camper body or anything like that, I don't know. But yeah, I know everywhere it's lived, but not necessarily what kind of it was doing at those times. Basically, it is my show truck now. As I say, I bought it originally to be a daily driver, and it quickly became a show truck. So pretty much since the first year I bought it, I started doing the odd show here and there, alongside my old Grand as well. And then gradually this took over, and then I sold the old Grand on because I just couldn't run both two show cars. So yeah, so now I try and do as many shows as I can in a year, and each year I alternate, try and go to shows that I didn't do the previous year to try and go to as many different places as possible. Everywhere you go, there's always an interesting story. It always feels like it's an achievement to get to your destination. It's so small, and you get so blown around by other trucks driving past you and things like that. When you're buzzing about town, it's good fun. And as soon as you get to like going long distances to shows, as each bit goes, you're going, oh, I've got a bit further, I'm going to make it, I'm closer now. And then eventually, like within 10 miles, you start getting confident that you're actually going to make it. Then yeah, like I say, it's a real sense of achievement. Some of the longer shows I've been to Goodwood 3 times in it now over the past few years. You're going all out 5-hour journey, one stop off for petrol halfway, and you just kind of bent over, cramped in a little tin box basically. So yeah, it feels hard work. The biggest difficulty is either finding parts to keeping them going. There's no new parts available. Even in Japan, there's not that many spares to import. There's nothing made anymore. So you either have to buy whole trucks to get spares for, or just drop lucky in people selling random spare collections that they've got. The other thing as well is convincing people to work on it. You'll take it somewhere and they'll be like, it's not worth it. It's up to me what I want to spend my money, and if it's your vehicle and you want to keep it going, then that's your own decision. And convincing companies to actually do that and fall in line with your beliefs is quite hard work sometimes. In terms of awards, yeah, I've done well. When I first started taking it to shows in 2018, it was on hydraulics. I'd gone for like a bit of an old builder's van look to it, so I got loads of good reactions at shows from people. In terms of awards, the only award I won that year was at Fuel Society. I won one of the Judges' Choice Awards. Since I've had the body rework done, then it's obviously the actual quality has brought you up to scratch in terms of the actual design as well. So yeah, I've won in 2020. I won about 4 or 5 awards. Won Jap Show, Best in Show. I won an award at Mim's Honda Day as well in Three Sisters circuit. When it was first came out of paint, I won in 2019. I won top 20 in Ultimate Stance, and then this year I got top 20 at Fitted. I won Best in Show at Jap Fest. I won the Virtual Show and Shine Award at the Restoration Show as well. All my vehicles, and this as well, when I first started taking it to shows, they've always got interest by showgoers, and I'm gradually starting to see the actual awards as well to follow that in as well. Another one of the complicated parts as well in this build is the wheel setup that we've got. So the PCD on the Honda Acty is 4x120, which the only other thing that matches to is the Mark 1 Civic and Mark 1 Accord. So in terms of wheel options out there, there's hardly anything comes up for sale at all. So I decided to go down the custom route. So there's a company called Image Wheels, and they make custom PCD widths, offsets, whatever you like basically. So I decided to go with them. The wheels on this are 5.5 inch wide at the back, 13 inch diameter. It's the Bill A19 model, so it's a nice smooth flat disc, which is the kind of style that I like on all my vehicles really. The front width is actually only 3.5 inch, so it's the same width as a standard steel wheel, so I knew that it would fit and tuck into the arches that were tubbed. I try and, what I wanted to do with the bodywork was keep it as kind of standard a look as possible, so I tried to avoid going down the wide arch look. So I wanted wheels that would just sit within that bodywork. I like vehicles that are different, and like I say, for some reason when I was growing up I just wanted a small square van, and now I've got a small square van and now I've got it on the road and I've got it to just how I want it to be. So hopefully I can just keep evolving it slightly, just keep the interest alive at various shows and when I'm on the roads.